Welcome to The Burn with Ryan Van Dever, presented to you by Hot Zone Sports. The information that you need to know, built with you in mind. For the people, by the people, and with the people. Now, on today's episode, we are going to be talking strictly about the Indianapolis Colts. Yes, the Colts. I am a bit of an expert on this subject matter, so take everything that I say to heart. Make sure you like the videos, subscribe, and share it with your friends. Now, on to the episode. How much does the preseason matter? Something I want to touch on is the importance and the validity of the NFL preseason. I know fans like to believe that the preseason matters. Our team is 3-0. Our team is 1-1. Oh no, our team is 0-3. Look out, the world is ending. So let's go into the data and see what the data supports. There are two numbers that the Detroit Lions fans will never forget. 0 and 16. They represent the Detroit Lions 2008 season, the one in which they became the first team in NFL history to play a 16-game schedule without winning a game. They were undefeated in preseason play. That's right. Of the last 29 teams that went undefeated in preseason play, what was the percentage of those teams that made the playoffs? 65%. 65% of the teams that were undefeated missed the playoffs. Only 35% did. 28 teams that have gone winless in the past 10 years, 43% of those teams went on to make the playoffs. 57% of those teams missed the playoffs. So basically what I'm telling you is the worse you do in the preseason record-wise, the better chance you'll have to make the playoffs. That's the data, folks. So if your team is going 3-0, so right now the Chicago Bears 3-0, do I think that they're a playoff team? Absolutely, they are a playoff team. Their schedule is very favorable. If anything, they could be 8-2 or 9-1 after 10 weeks. Their schedule is ridiculously easy. But honestly, in the same respect, if the Chiefs, Ravens, and 49ers actually went winless in the preseason, is it going to affect the outlook for the regular season in their players' minds? No, it's not. You're going to know what type of team you have at the beginning of the training camp. Now, obviously, if your starting quarterback gets injured for the year, that's going to dramatically change things. If you lose a linebacker with a torn MCL, yes, that's going to affect things. But walking into camp, you're going to know what kind of type of team you have. With how the draft went, how the free agent signings went, all of that. You're going to know what type of team you got. You're not really going to need preseason to determine, oh no, is our team going to suck this year? Preseason is just for developmental processes. Going into this week, the Bears and the Vikings are undefeated. The Lions and the Packers are 1-1. I personally don't think any of this matters. Now, if you want to be a fan of a team and say our team is 3-0, and you want to say that, oh, our team is going to be the greatest, go ahead and do so. I am not going to stop you from talking smack and supporting your team. So you go ahead and you do you. But a lot of great teams like the Patriots and the Colts, when they were dominant over the years, you could see them struggle in September, and it felt like the first 4 weeks of the regular season was their preseason, not the preseason itself. They were still knocking kinks out in their freaking rosters. They were still trying to figure out which plays they were going to run, schematically. So preseason does not matter. Now, there are a few anomalies in the terms of the preseason, which were the Steelers last season. They were 3-0, and they made the playoffs. Didn't go very far in the playoffs, but they made the playoffs. The Jaguars and the Commanders last year were undefeated and missed the playoffs. So, if there's one thing that can be said here, it's this. As a fan or a member of a team, you can tell what kind of team that you're going to have, whether you're 0-3 or 3-0, or hell, 1-2. Preseason is about getting competition after a long off season and seeing what you have on your team for the first time, competitively. OTAs don't matter. Training camp is just a glorified practice. The joint practices and the preseason games, that's what's going to matter. But there is data, and it supports more teams that lose in the preseason. Now, moving on to the Indianapolis Colts, which is why we are all here. The Indianapolis Colts defeated the Cincinnati Bengals 27-14 in their preseason finale on Thursday night at Paycor Stadium in Cincinnati. As many of you know, I am a Colts fan, have been for close to 30 years. I have studied this team inside and out, and I know just damn near everything about this team. The Colts played the Bengals the other night. Anthony Richardson, the QB1 for the Colts, has been a priority topic for all of Colts Nation and all of the haters involved, coming off the shoulder injury from last season where he only played 4 games. In those 4 games, you saw pure electric plays. You also saw high throws, something he was known for, the University of Florida. Accuracy was not something he was known for. That's not a knock on Anthony Richardson by any means, but an obvious statement on the QB1. Now let's get it straight. I am a Colts fan. I'm fans of many teams in many leagues, Major League Baseball, college football, everything. So one thing you're going to get from me is logical facts, not fandom. I'm not a blowhard for a team. You're going to get facts. And if I say my team is good, I am going to back it up with facts. So, let's get into the facts here. Anthony Richardson, he started 13 games at the University of Florida. 13. It's 1 season and then 1 game the season before. He even started fewer games in high school. He started 6 games in high school. So when the Colts drafted him, they knew he was going to be behind the 8 ball on progression. You're not getting a C.J. Stroud when he was a rookie. You're not getting a Caleb Williams. Even though he hasn't played regular season, you'll see Caleb Williams is going to ball out, and you'll understand this topic even further. So the Colts knew there were going to be struggles. No, he wasn't going to walk in and be a 5th-year Patrick Mahomes. He also wasn't going to be a 7th year or a 6th year Peyton Manning or Tom Brady. He wasn't a shoo-in to be the number 1 pick. He was the 4th overall pick. They drafted Anthony Richardson on his elite athleticism and his high ceiling as a prospect. So when he went down last year, I told many people that this injury was going to hamper his ability in his progression. The obvious statement. It's not actually, breaking news. Not a shocking statement by any means. I'm not saying he's not a good player. He is. But there are going to be growing pains with him this season, as we saw evident in the game versus the Bengals the other night. You can call these the ups and downs. A full Anthony Richardson experience. That's a good name for it. He started out hot, and I mean really hot, like MVP level hot, threading the needle to Alec Pierce for 18 yards on his first play. If you were a Colts fan, you're like, oh, holy shit, what just happened? Because me personally, I temper my expectations every time Anthony Richardson gets on the field. Next, Richardson connected on his first 6 pass attempts and found rookie Adonai Mitchell for a 9-yard catch-and-run touchdown on the opening drive, where he led a 12-play, 80-yard drive. Richardson went 7 for 8 for 65 yards with a touchdown pass, and then there was one drop that was from Drew Ogletree, which probably should have been caught. You can tell that Anthony Richardson loves these type of up-tempo plays where there's quick reads like RPOs, where he is the most impressive. But there's going to have to be a balance there, because defenses are going to lock in and look for those RPO plays with this being his second season. But next is when things went to shit. Richardson hit the down slope of this ride. And yes, this ride is what you can call a roller coaster ride. He threw a pick 6 on the second drive, leaving the ball behind tight end Kylan Granson. That Bengals safety Jordan battle swiped. You can call this the receiver caused the interception play. Granson saw one thing, Richardson saw another, along with a lot of miscommunication on the pick 6 that followed. Now, miscommunication is going to happen. It is. It happens in every football game with the wide receivers, the running backs, tight ends, whoever the ball catcher is going to be. But that's why you play these preseason games, so you can iron these things out. Even when you go back to the joint practices, Anthony Richardson would be under duress and get rid of the ball quickly so that his ball catchers would hopefully see it coming. But in the joint practices with the Bengals, that's not what happened. He was under duress a lot, and he's got a fast throw motion, and that ball is going to come out fast. And a lot of the time in these practices this past week, ball catchers didn't see it coming. It hasn't been like that all summer. It's just been the past week or so where the communication hasn't been there. Be one of many things. New plays where kinks are trying to be fixed is what it seems like, though. We'll never know the answers to that, because Shane Steichen isn't going to exactly divulge that type of information. He likes to keep everything right to his chest. Moving on in that game, Richardson also fumbled on a would-be scramble, but the Colts were able to recover, hopefully. Well, they did recover. One thing that Anthony Richardson needs to work on is sensing the pressure that is coming at him. And on that particular play, that's what happened. He didn't sense the pressure, and it was a strip. That's what happens when your quarterback isn't a run-first quarterback. Yes, that's what I said. He's not a run-first quarterback. He does have elite athleticism where he can take off, but he does not have the run-first mentality like Lamar Jackson did when he first came into the league, like Michael Vick did when he was in the league. Anthony Richardson is constantly keeping his eyes downfield, looking for a big play. Now, what he needs is continued reps. And along the way, these highs and lows, to a degree, they might be part of that learning curve. And we all know how that learning curve is in the NFL. This is what you can expect from a player that has had few starts as he has had in his career, which is 23. and especially with a player that is still growing with each snap that is taken. In this game, he finished 8 for 14 for 86 yards, 1 touchdown, and 1 interception. Now, the Colts have done a good job surrounding him with talent. It's probably one of the youngest offenses in the NFL. But when you have a quarterback like this, who likes to throw to certain spots on the field, there are going to be growing pains. Richardson has displayed the highs and lows in 25 plays against the Bengals backups that he'll likely experience in year 2. He flashed a big arm in this game, got the ball out quickly, and was accurate on his opening drive. He also missed more than his share of throws and had a couple of questionable reads. Now, when Richardson threw that pick 6, color commentator Kirk Herbstreit wasted no time jumping on him like he was a KC strip at a steakhouse and placing seeds of doubt on the Colts QB. Anthony Richardson threw a pick 6. Oh no, Joe Flacco could come in and replace him. I'm sure he could. But it was obvious that there was a mistake made with the interception. But placing that type of doubt is a bit much when you're just an announcer. Yes, I understand you work for College Game Day, but a bit much. If you know anything about the Colts organization, Joe Flacco was brought in to be a mentor, to be a good backup, just in case Anthony Richardson goes down. Stay in your lane and stop placing seeds of doubt into the Colts organization, because that's not why Flacco was brought here. He was brought here to be that guy to help Anthony Richardson along. Moving on, the good thing for Indy is that the young quarterback never seems rattled, even when things are not going well. He is great at running the football. There's no doubt about it. But that's one characteristic that I would go out and wouldn't be proud of is, you know what my quarterback does really well? He runs really well. There has to be balance there. Michael Vick ran the ball really well. Changed the game with that skill as a quarterback. I wanted him to become a better passer of the ball. Lamar Jackson, when he came into the league, all he did is run. Now he's developing into a legitimate threat as a passing quarterback instead of the running quarterback that he came into the league as. As a quarterback, I don't want you running. Richardson ran first a lot last season in his limited time, but we all saw what happened there with him. Injuries. Yes, Anthony Richardson is a freakish athlete. Everyone can see that. It's very easy to see that. He's like a Cam Newton feel to me because he's so big and he can run extremely well. But develop as a passer, and that's what the Colts are hoping will happen with him. Anthony Richardson is 22 years old. He's younger than 4 of the 6 first-round picks drafted this year. But he needs a lot of seasoning. He is the youngest starting quarterback in the NFL. So if you're expecting him to be Patrick Mahomes, you can pump those brakes and temper those expectations. He's flash dynamic upside, but he needs to flash more finesse consistency to lead Indy to the postseason in 2024 if it's going to happen. Biggest concern is that Richardson stays healthy to get the reps needed to reach the next level of his career. In that sense, Thursday night was a success. One thing you can say about Anthony Richardson is that he is supremely talented. But on the flip side, Because I look at both sides here. On the flip side, you'll see a drive going 7 for 8, resulting in a touchdown, and then you'll see how green he is with that pick 6 or the fumble on the ground on a scramble. Anthony Richardson is exciting to watch. That is one thing that can be said, whether you're a Colts fan or just a football fan in general. The national media, former quarterbacks on Twitter, y'all need to give it a rest with the "I'm done with Anthony Richardson" talk. Time to start Flacco. This team is far too talented to have an average turnover-prone quarterback as their starter. He played 4 games last season. Richardson is ultimately going to get benched for Joe Flacco in the middle of the season. It's not why Joe Flacco was brought in. This was a preseason game where Steichen told Richardson not to hold on to the football. Get the ball out quickly. Don't run the football. You aren't going to have Jonathan Taylor the full time you're out there. You're going to have one of your better weapons in Jones out. But yes, you're going to ball out with no issues whatsoever. Here's the boatload of sarcasm right there. Your head coach is basically handcuffing you because it's preseason. Not to mention, you're running vanilla RPOs. Just makes me laugh. Like, honestly, it really does. This whole situation is laughable. Not using any critical thinking. There's no logical thoughts here. You're just going to go on Twitter or on a national show saying Anthony Richardson isn't that guy. The situation he was in wasn't going to end well. If any other quarterback was in that same situation, it wouldn't have ended well either. If you're in your second season and you had 4 games, there's limited play time. Has played in 25 football games from high school until now. Is it possible at all that we can give him even more time before deciding if he's a bust or not? Can we do that? He played 4 games last season. Just give it a damn rest. I know y'all run on clicks and whatnot, but just chill with that narrative because I'm over it. Y'all would be too if it was your team. So can you call yourself a so-called analyst? How can you call yourself a so-called analyst in football or hell, even a fan of the game, if you come out and you say someone is a bust after a preseason game that doesn't matter? Yeah. As a Colts fan, you don't like the other teams in the AFC South. You don't. And it's just like a Philly fan in the NFC East. You hate everybody else. That's just how football works. That's how sports in general works. Me personally, I have a certain type of dislike. I'm not going to use hate like other people do because I don't prefer that word. I have a severe dislike for the Titans, Jaguars, and Texans. Not as much as other people do. Hell, I don't even like the Patriots. The Patriots ruined a lot of freaking winners for me. I remember one year when I was overseas and I stayed up till 3 o'clock in the morning to watch the AFC Championship game where Peyton Manning played the Patriots and he had like 4 picks. Yeah, I didn't sleep that day because when the game was over, I had to go back to work. I was in the military. So, yeah, I'm not going to come out and say, Will Levis threw a pick or had a fumble and call him trash or he's a bust. Or the fact that he threw 4 touchdowns in his first game and then threw 4 touchdowns and 4 interceptions in his next 7 games. But I'm not going to talk about that. I'm not going to call Drake May a bust if he has a bad game. This is the world that we live in. the takes, the ignorance, the overreactions. There's some people that just love to live on controversy. They love to live on wanting to be different. But people like this, you can't take seriously, and you never will. I sure as hell won't. Anthony Richardson comes out and struggles for a month, then yeah, we can have this serious discussion about the future at the quarterback position for the Colts. But not now. After the final preseason game, there's a thing that these kids say nowadays. I'm going to just make myself sound old. Y'all cap too much. The word ridiculous comes to mind, but even that word doesn't give this shit justice. As of right now, in this very moment, Anthony Richardson is the Indianapolis Colts starting quarterback, your QB1, not a so-called QB3 like other people have said. The QB3 on the Colts is Sam Ehlinger. Maybe you should go look at a depth chart. And Sam Ehlinger, if you prefer to compare Sam Ehlinger to the QB1, Anthony Richardson, well, maybe you should go back to the drawing board and act like you know ball, because you don't. Anthony Richardson is leaps and bounds better than Sam Ehlinger. So contrary to popular belief, the Colts have put together a pretty solid team. And to have a head coach that's mentored the likes of Justin Herbert and Jalen Hurts bodes well for the Colts quarterback one, Anthony Richardson. Anthony Richardson is going to struggle. And we live in a social media day and age where everybody is going to overreact and be their Monday morning quarterback, where they're going to overreact to bad plays. If you actually examine this situation, Anthony Richardson is still basically a rookie. When he got injured last year, that killed the progression that he could have made. So I knew the Colts were going to be in this situation. So if you're a Colts fan, before you post something, stop and think. Because Anthony Richardson is still green. He's going to be green for a while. But he's 22 years old. There is time. I understand that you want to win now. But you need to let Anthony Richardson develop, for Christ's sake, without overreacting. To me, the Colts are a dark horse / sneaky team. And this isn't coming from a Colts fan that, I mean, it is, but the fact of the matter is that's what they are. Last year, they put up a pretty good season, even with the injuries. And the Texans faced a top 10 quarterback in what seems like every week. The expectations for this team are through the roof. If you actually look on social media, you'll see that the expectations for this team, they're a little high. I mean, yeah, CJ Stroud had a ridiculous rookie campaign, but the expectations are going to be through the roof. I mean, some people are saying like Super Bowl. I don't know. That's going to be really hard to reach those expectations. Up next is their regular season opener of the Colts against their division rivals, the Houston Texans, on September 8th. With the season really close, a little bit, about 2 weeks away, you're going to see multiple people in the NFL space share their record predictions for each team. Former NFL quarterback Kurt Benkert, yeah, I don't remember him either. He's apparently currently an NFL analyst for Sleeper HQ. Well, he shared some information via his personal X account. Still weird calling it that. Twitter. But his X account included an incredibly disrespectful record prediction for the Colts. Baker predicted that the Colts are going to finish last in the AFC South with a record of 4 wins and 13 losses. Yeah. He has them finishing as the second worst team in the AFC and tied with the Minnesota Vikings with the third worst record in the entire NFL. So you're telling me the Carolina Panthers, all right, yeah, the Carolina Panthers are going to have a better record than the Minnesota Vikings. Tell me you don't know football without telling me you don't know football. Good God. Now, while my personal prediction for the Colts in 2024 is drastically different, and no, I don't see them going in undefeated. I don't drink Colts Gatorade. I'm not a homer. I do have a logical prediction. I'm not going to get into that right now. I'll save that for another video. But I understand why people are so skeptical about this team. Their offense is one of the youngest in the NFL, like I said earlier, but their secondary on paper is going to project to be a massive weakness for the team, much like last year, because, Chris Ballard decided not to go out and get a safety. That could have helped out the defense a lot, but, whatever. I digress. But I don't quite understand how someone could predict the Colts to finish so poorly. Colts are returning every starter from last year's team, which ended this year, which ended that last year with 9 wins. Just 1 win away from winning the AFC South and punching their ticket to the playoffs. Even more impressive, they did so without their starting quarterback, Anthony Richardson, for most of the season. That would have been 13 games. To put a 4-win season into perspective, Colts managed to win 4 games and had a tie during their disastrous 2022 season, which involved the team starting 3 different quarterbacks: Matt Ryan, Nick Foles, and Sam Ehlinger. Sam Ehlinger because Jim Irsay is the fucking genius and wanted Sam Ehlinger to play because he's more agile. Idiot. Sorry about that. As they also fired Frank Reich, the head coach, in the middle of the season and replaced him with Jeff Saturday. Jeff Saturday, he couldn't even accomplish coaching high school football, but hey, let's throw him in the NFL. Let's see what he can do, guys. You can tell me that I'm an optimist all you want, but I have a really hard time seeing that this year's Colts team is coming anywhere close to being as bad as that awful team that we all watched in 2022. So this is me sitting in my chair, comfortably taking the over 4 wins on Banker's win projected win total for the Colts, because they're going to have more than 4 wins. Now, if Mr. Banker wants to sit in that chair and say, oh, they're going to have 4 wins, I can tell you one thing that you are. You are clickbait, sir. Nobody believes anything that you type up for Sleeper HQ. All you want are clicks, and that's what you got. So, congratulations to you. But that is it for today's episode. I hope you truly enjoyed the entire episode of me talking Colts. Expect more of these episodes in the future. More AFC South talk. along with everything else that goes along with Hot Zone Sports, the Burn. Thank you for making me your first listen of the day. And as always, Ryan Van Deaver and the Burn out. I hope everybody has an absolutely great Saturday. Peace.